Tech giant Amazon is removing right-wing social media app Parler from its cloud servers in the aftermath of the U.S. Capitol siege. It follows similar steps to limit access to the network by Google and Apple. Parler bills itself as a free speech alternative to mainstream platforms and has seen a recent surge in popularity following moves by several tech giants to ban President Donald Trump from their apps. Security around the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. has been bolstered following the breach by a mob of Donald Trump supporters that led to 5 deaths. A growing number of Republicans have been trying to distance themselves from the president in the aftermath as the Democrats' push to impeach him a second time gains momentum.
The U.S. Capitol. The violent scenes of a few days ago have made way for this: a state of emergency, an unscalable fence, and more than 6,000 National Guard troops. Stricter security measures are due to remain in place until after Joe Biden's inauguration this month. Residents, meanwhile, are still coming to terms with Wednesday's riot.
We were just here, I think, less than a week ago with our son running around on the lawn over there, and then I was struck on Wednesday to see that same spot sort of taken over with the protesters and the rioters.
With how easily everything was overrun on Wednesday, it definitely makes it scary. And I've already seen reports of potential violence happening on days before inauguration, and that's really disconcerting.
Dozens of those who stormed the Capitol have now been arrested, with more arrests expected in the coming days. The FBI has appealed to the public to help bring more rioters to justice. House Democrats are pressing ahead with an article of impeachment on Monday, a move which would make Donald Trump the first ever president to be impeached twice. It could also mean that Trump would be unable to run for public office in the future. It's a move that has received support from some Republicans, but critics say their turn against Trump has come too late.
It does not seem to matter that sustaining the lies of Trump and Trumpism has damaged the country. They don't care about that. They're a little worried in the short term about their political positioning, but in the long term, they're not worried about anything.
As for President Trump, he's now been banned from Twitter as well as other social media platforms who are quoting concerns over inciting further violence. Tech giants and members of Trump's own party may now also be turning against him, but across the country, there's still no shortage of people who support the outgoing president.
And how big of a deal is it that Trump has been cut off from his preferred communication platform? To tell us more, I'm joined now by Edward Ongweso Jr., a journalist in the United States with Vice's tech magazine Motherboard. Edward, welcome. How much does Twitter's permanent suspension of Trump really affect his ability to reach an audience?
Hey, Claire. I think, over the past few years, he's focused largely on Twitter. But the important thing to also remember, he is the president of the United States. There's an entire media apparatus and ecosystem whose sole purpose is to repeat, amplify, analyze the words that he says. And there are also a host of other, tools, platforms, devices outside of social media, cable news, traditional media, legacy media that he does have access to, but has spent the past few years, either waging war against or avoiding.
In addition to that legacy media, surely he will be able to reach his intended audience over another social media platform. What do you think is next for Trump?
There have been some attempts to see whether Parler, some other option can emerge. But it seems that the platforms have, in the last few weeks decided to step up and ban him from them. So it's unlikely that he'll be able to find something with the similar sort of reach that he had, or centrality to the lives of some of his base and supporters. But there are other ways for him to speak to them through proxies, through other media networks, through other media systems that they still tune into and get a lot of information from.
Now, I want to ask you, because you've written that we can't entirely blame just technology for the storming of the Capitol on Wednesday, because the United States has a much longer history of right-wing violence. But do you think it really would have come to this without the amplification provided by social media platforms?
I definitely think so, even if it may not have happened at this specific time. I mean, one of the images that was circulated a lot was an image of a Confederate flag being wielded inside of the Capitol building. And I think that says everything we need to know in terms of whether or not this would have happened. There's still, at the heart of American society, and still problems within and embedded throughout its institutions, through population, through its legal systems, political, social, cultural, realities inside the United States. There's still a problem of, rejection of democracy, especially, in the 70 years since it's been expanded fully. And that this, right-wing mob is, I think, just the latest manifestation of it, but it's a consistent thing that, goes back to the earliest days of this country and is not going to disappear with technological fixes, and is definitely not going to disappear without technological platforms.
Journalist Edward Ongweso Jr., thank you very much for your insight.
Thank you.